The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.
There we go, and we're back. Episode 58 of the Silly Goose Gang Podcast, and we're joined today by Tracey on a Sunday morning. So Claire, thanks for waking up so early and getting on a podcast with us on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I'm grateful you asked me to come on, so thanks for having me.
Well, probably threefold. So firstly, you're a very well... what's the word I'm looking for? I'm like 3 seconds in. I've already had a brain fart. You're a very good strength and conditioning coach. You probably have the best Instagram stories on the internet, and you're probably the original Silly Goose. So, if you we have to. So yeah, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, surviving lockdown. Grateful that I can coach. And yeah, just trying to plod through, I guess. But
where is it now? Is it Gloucester? Is that right?
Yeah. So I work at Gloucestershire University. I'm living in Cheltenham. So it's kind of a big move. I miss Scotland a lot. And yeah, and like all my friends and like where I've worked and but for my job and stuff, like it was a really good move. I feel like already it's like opened up so many different opportunities, and yeah, so I'm happy that I've made the move.
Yeah, I never went to university, and I wasn't clever enough to go, so I don't know much about universities. But
You were.
I wasn't. It seems like St Andrews, because you were at St Andrews before, so that seems like that would have been a really cool place to work as well, though.
Yeah, St Andrews was really fun. That was like my first full-time specific Snc one. Before that I was kind of like loads of contracts and working with different people and working with Origin as well for ages, like gym equipment, but that was my first full-time job, so I felt like I made it when I went there. But it was such an amazing place. I think obviously like the people that it attracts, like everybody's so polite, and it was just a really nice atmosphere to be in. Like you didn't come across any like idiots, and yeah, it was just a really nice atmosphere. And then from then, that's when I thought, okay, how am I going to progress? And now it's like a mixed role of like teaching and coaching. So yeah, it's quite.
How recent is the taking like strength and conditioning coaches into university? Because that seems like universities now have like really awesome setups, but I don't like when did that become a thing? Because I can't imagine that was a thing like in the 80s.
Yeah, so I remember when I first started kind of thinking about Snc. So I'd randomly done an art degree and then graduated and thought, well, why did I do that? And then I went back and did my physiology degree. But in that gap, I'd done like this rowing course. So it's like just like a level 2 coaching qualification. And the guy that ran that, he was an Snc coach and a rower. And he was running another course through the same company. Probably a really good salesman as well. Obviously got me on the other course. But I told him that I was going back and doing physiology, and he was like, but do you know what you want to do though? Like, because just going back to do another 4-year degree in sports science, which is quite like general, he's like, generally you should probably have some idea of what you want to go into, especially because I wasn't 17 anymore. I was like, still young at 21, but you know, and he's like, well, I'm running this S&C course and it'll give you a taste of what it is. So I did it, and like I loved it, and it was only like a level 2 thing, so obviously it's not like everything that you learn as a coach, but it gave me a taster. And so then that meant I went back into uni with an idea of what I wanted to do with S&C. So at that time he was like, oh, S&C, like it's not big, but it's going to be like it's definitely going to be the next big kind of area of like sports science. And that was definitely true. So that was maybe 2011, so 2011 or so. And it wasn't very big then. And I remember like he worked for the Glasgow School of Sport, and I think that was probably the first school that ever had anything like that.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool setup. And universities here, I don't think had any of that at that point. And that's when I went into Glasgow, and I was trying to help like the rowing team and stuff. And I think from around that time in the past 10 years, that's maybe when everything started to just go boom, and we're copying the American system and stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely makes sense, because I did sports sciences as well. I've got a degree in just like general sports sciences. I never specialised, but I did mine's like basically a decade before you, because I'm old. But I did mine at Napier, Falkirk College, and then Napier back in the day. And that was like 99 to 01, 02, and there was very few strength and conditioning roles at all in the UK at that point, unless you were literally working with like GB Olympics, Commonwealth, or maybe down at Loughborough at the time, because they were kind of the forerunners of it. But there was definitely nothing in Scotland. Even I know Stirling have recently added it, I think, but they didn't even have their full sports programme at that time when I was studying my degree way back in the early 01s.
Yeah, I think
so
I think it was like the Scottish Institute that probably it started with first, and then some rugby and like Gil Stevenson. Do you guys know Gil?
I know Gil, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I remember him very briefly from Petrivy.
Yeah.
I remember him being quite grumpy at me for some reason.
He's do you know him? He's literally like, he kind of has not mentored me like specifically, but he's been a big role in my career. He's helped me, he's educated me a lot, and I see him as like the godfather of like S&C, and I feel like he probably brought it up here almost. Like he's been an S&C coach, I think maybe just shy of like 40 years or something, so it has been going for a long time, but it's just maybe not been labeled S&C and been so popular. And
like I know we spoke to Ian Mackey on the podcast. Ian's a friend of mine as well. Like he obviously went to Atlanta '96, and Ian always did, I don't think they called it strength and conditioning like you say, but he was doing like super heavy cleans and everything like early '90s. He was jacked, but it wasn't strength and conditioning. It was just, I think maybe Ian had his own interest in it. But like, I mean, when I was boxing, like when I started boxing like 2008, like all the old guys were still like, yep, wear your working boots and go for a long run, put a black bag, get a good sweat on, and don't lift weights. And it's like, now you look back and go, you fucking morons, what are you talking about? And it's amazing, like in that like 10, 12 years, how far like it's shifted. It's amazing.
It has. Really like good. It's great. Like how big like organizations like the UKSA has influenced stuff, and now just the fact, you know, like social media and like your link to the world and all of this information, and I think it has just boomed, and it's really good because it's not just now pro sport. It's, you know, there's areas of like the UKCA are trying to do like special interest groups for all of these different areas of it. So like I'm involved in one for universities, and then they've got like the school one, but they're trying to push it into like health as well. You know, so it's not just pro sport, you know, it can help everyone. So it's really cool because like private schools now, like most private schools and a lot of like public schools, is it public, private, or is public the same as private? So no. Anyway, a lot of like private schools have definitely jumped on the bandwagon. Like the setups there and some of them with the money they have is crazy. Like my boyfriend worked at one, and I went and visited it, and I think they've got the second biggest rowing club there, and they have a rowing tank, and their gym is ginormous, and it's ridiculous. And then I think, you know, other schools, I think their jump is, it's good. It's like a huge development.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like when I went to Kinross High School, and once they didn't knock the school down because I left, but they built a new school. They built a new school, and like the sports facilities there are amazing now. So it's like, I think when they build new schools, they're going to try and put in like better facilities for this kind of stuff, because yeah, like I think it was Andy. Do you know Andy Smith from Lift Gym?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Andy, in his quest to get gyms back open, he had posted the figures for like obesity in Scotland, and it was like 68%, and it's like, this is
Holy shit! Oh, sorry.
It's okay, you can swear. It's cool. It's not PG rated.
He posted those figures, and it was one of those things where I had to admit, like, are those real? He's like, it's Scottish government figures. Like 68% of Scottish people are overweight or obese. So there's like, something has to be done at like an early age to get kids moving about, and stop eating Skittles and Skips and Coke, basically.
So that is a huge thing. Like kids are just now sitting in front of TVs playing games, and lockdown's not helping with that. And it's just like, it's education for the parents to actually feed their kids as well, I think, and look after their kids. Like, some of the parents just don't know, so then it's just patterns passed on to generations. And I think it is good. Like, in fact, do you know Helen? My God, my name is just Helen. She's my friend. I just lost her second name. She is doing a PhD in like Snc with like youth, but she's doing it on a health, the health side of it, like the health benefits, and that's really interesting. And it's like just trying to pull in kids who aren't in sport into that, and the effects it has on like just confidence and like everything. So it's not even like the physical benefits, like the mental benefits of it and stuff as well. And how she's talked about like how this is that then led those kids to feel confident to go and like play sport. And so it's kind of like a happy cycle of like, they're getting healthier, but then they're getting the confidence to go and do other stuff to make them even more healthier. And I think I can't believe it's 68%. It's obese. That's crazy.
I know, it's mad.
That's one of the things where Andy was on his quest with a few other people around about the country to get gyms open, and it was, coming out with the numbers, and it's staggering, like outrageous. And it's there's very little transmission of COVID within gyms, but the shutting down gyms, the country's obese, and now I think I think it wasn't on the way to the gym it wasn't on the way to see Ali on Friday, because that would have been illegal. But on the way someplace on Friday, there was something about the suicide rate is now huge, and we're obese, but McDonald's can open and takeaways can still be open, but the gyms are shut. And you go, this doesn't make it's completely insane. So, but yeah, that's an insane number. So we need to everybody do something about that. I don't know.
I know. I see both sides. Like, obviously I'm a fan of the gym, so I want it to be open. And you see how people, like, you see both types of people in there, I think. You see people cleaning and people I'll go in, clean it, go, like, do my thing, then clean it, like what you're meant to do, and try and keep the distance. But then there is some people that I've seen that are still in there with, like, just not, it's not following the rules. So like, I see both sides of the story, and like where is is there evidence that stuff has been spread in there? But it's also just trying to limit interaction with people as well. So I see both sides of the story. Like I'm obviously pro opening them, because mentally I think it'll help a lot of people, not just physically. I think mentally as well. Like but yeah, I don't know. I just wish it would all be over.
Open the gyms, but don't be minky. Clean up after yourself.
Yeah. Like, I think probably 98% of the people in there are good. But I know that, like, I was in a gym in Wolverhampton, and I just remember this group of people just standing there around one machine with no masks, doing nothing. I was like, that's not a good, like, do you know? And it's those people that ruin it for everyone else.
But that's like the case with everything in life. Like, most people are fine, but it's like, you know, there's a group of 100 people, one person is going to be a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, it's just are. But yeah, like, I'm never in like normal people gyms, but I had to do some.
What a muggle gym? What's that?
Like a normal person gym. I'm never a normal person gym. So I was in. I had to go and do some sprints. It was right before the gym shut again, which was like Christmas Eve. No, Boxing Day. Sorry.
Boxing Day,
So it must have been. It might well have been like the 22nd of December. I had to go to Glen Office, Michael Woods, to do some sprints in the treadmill. And I went in. It's like, it's the most stereotypical gym thing. Like, it's like, I'm on the treadmill, and I was just doing my work, just ignoring everybody. And there's like a group of guys to this side, and they're doing like leg presses, but they're like, 2 seconds, take a picture of me. And then he's kind of trying to look like tensing up to look like, and I could see this, and there's a guy to the other side of me, and it's like all mirrors, and he's just he's got imaginary lat syndrome, and he's walking back and forward like this, and I could see him eyeballing me. I'm just standing there going, oh my God, this is why I don't come to normal people gyms. This is ridiculous.
I feel like Puritan's one of the worst for that.
Oh my God, I've never been. Like, those gyms are so bad. It was always nice training at Petrivi, because it was like generally all athletes, and then me. But yeah, there's just, you got these like normal gyms, and it's just like, what? Oh my God, this is the worst experience of a gym. But then, genuinely, you could understand why somebody would come in, like somebody who's not confident, whether it's a guy or a girl, who'd go in there and like, I don't want to be in here. This isn't nice. Do you know what I mean? Because nobody's friendly. Very few people have been friendly. There's loads of, you know, guys who have got tiny little egos, and or guys who think they're fucking Chuck Norris, and they're just not nice. It's not a nice environment for people. But I don't know what my point was there. But yeah, I was just going on one of my little rants.
I think that's true, though. I think that has a big impact on people participating in sport, as like along with what you were saying, Claire, the confidence of, and especially for young girls, it must be quite intimidating to walk into a gym when there's a group of young guys all swaggering about. Because I see it even, I mean, my daughter's not even a teenager yet, but she's already starting to disengage from sports as something that it's boys do it, and the girls like sit on the sides and just watch. And it bugs me, because my wife played sports. That's where we met. She was a personal trainer as well when we first met. So we've always been heavily into sports. But Anya it's got to that age where a little bit of the social impact's coming in. And she's like, no, sports is for boys. Like, I don't want to get sweaty and muddy. I'm like, that's when it gets fun, though, when you get sweaty and muddy in many situations.
That is like I think, like, that is an issue. Like, you obviously see the numbers of like females and kids in it, and I understand that. Like, even though I'm an S&C coach and I will train people there, see, if I go into a new gym, there is still a little bit of I'm a bit nervous going into the weights room. I don't know why. There's still a little bit of anxiety, and that's me knowing exactly what to do. So I can totally understand. Like a lot of the females I used to train, and I did more PT based stuff in Edinburgh. Like, that's why they came to me, is like they wanted to strength train, but they were just nervous. Then they would come, and I would be the person, like their shield, like taking them into that area basically. And what made me happy was when you see, like I always feel it's not when someone leaves you as a PT, I don't always think it's just they don't want to be with you. It's like they feel confident now, and that's what happened with some of the girls that I'd worked with, is they then felt comfortable enough to actually just go there by themselves, and that was really lovely to see.
Have you ever had a bro science guy come up to you and try and explain you how to lift with your undoubted knowledge while you're in the gym?
Like, I can't think of like a huge example straight away. I do remember one PT always coming up to me before I worked in this gym in Edinburgh, and I don't know if it was trying to be like bro science, it was just being a bit creepy, I think, but
sounds like a guy.
I can't think of it actually. I can't think of someone doing that, to be honest. There's been things on like Instagram where you post something and then someone is like, "Oh, you should be doing it like this," and you're like, "Yeah, okay."
Okay, thanks. It was not that long ago. I had a big kind of leg session to do, and I was lifting weights at the time at the rugby club in Rosyth, and I can't remember what it was, whatever it was, some heavy squats, 3x3, and then an AMRAP at whatever it was, 80% of that or something, and then some lunges, and then it was like 400 to do some, like, it wasn't a lot, it was like 400 meter sprints after it, and I would have done a rugby pitch, but it was pouring down the rain, right? So I'd done all the leg work, which was horrible, and I went, I'm not doing it on the grass because I'll slip and I don't want to get muddy, so I went, I'll just nip in on the way home to the council gym down the road from me, and I'll just do the sprints there. So I went in, done 3 minutes of walking, a little bit of slow jogging, and then just did the 400s. There was a guy and a woman working out, right? Like the guy had like a tiny little guy with a vest on and weightlifting gloves. And I did the 400, I did the 400s. And he just came out, is that all you're doing? And I was like, you don't know what I've just done, you fucking asshole. And they were kind of laughing at me. But people who had no idea what they were doing, and they were kind of laughing at me because that's all I had done. And I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, but then you can't go and the person being actually, just go, okay, thank you. Fucking those guys are the worst. But yeah, it's always weird how it's always guys, eh?
Yeah. I think I actually probably can't think of, there's probably loads of instances where something like that's happened, but I've not been in one of those types of gyms for ages. With my work, I've always had access to a more performance-based gym, so then you don't really get that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's probably I do remember one guy coming up to me one time when it was at the PT desk, and it was literally, "Can you measure my biceps?" I was like,
see, that's a bad chat line. That's a bad chat line. That's all that is.
And my friend was standing there and he was like, "Oh, here's a tape measure." I was like, "You're a dickhead." So that was sorry. I just then I had to freaking go over to the corner and measure this guy's biceps. I was like, "There you go."
That's just a bad chat line. That's all that is. That's a really bad chat. Yeah. It's yeah. This is funny because these it's amazing how these people get so much. Me and Ali were talking about this the other day about we've both got friends who are outrageous in the things that they would say to a girl years ago, like in a nightclub.
Yes.
And it was like, I can't believe that you've just said that. It's like some people just have outrageous confidence that they don't deserve, and it's completely unwarranted, but they have this. Then you got other people that are just so nervous about everything. Human beings are staggeringly fascinating.
Yeah. Just to tell one of the stories to give you an idea, Claire, and I won't name names in case they listen, but a good friend of mine is a twin, and when we were way young, before I was with my missus and stuff, when we used to go out clubbing, and he would use the chat-up line of the fact he was a twin. So he would say to lassies when he was chatting to them, "I'm actually a twin," which inevitably always leads to the question, "Are you an identical twin?"
Yeah.
To which he always replied, "Yes, my sister's also 6'3" with a massive cock." And it used to work so many times. It was ridiculous. And I would see it coming from a mile off because he'd be chatting. He'd be like, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm actually a twin," as if some random person's going to know he's a twin on sight. And of course, everyone there asks the identical. And it used to work. 60% of the time worked every time.
Oh my God. I think now you'd probably get put in jail for that.
Probably.
Somebody would probably report you and you'd probably end up in jail.
I know. It was different times in '98.
Different times, yeah, thankfully. But yeah, oh my God, I don't even know where do you go from that.
10 past 11 on a Sunday morning, we're talking about 6'3" with a massive cock.
Oh my God. So, Claire, you're rowing. What did you do? Actual proper rowing in a boat? I'm assuming, not a concept 2. Was it proper rowing?
Yeah, it was proper rowing in a boat.
Proper
maybe for 10 years. It's a really psycho sport. Mentally, you're probably a bit weird if you do rowing. But no, it was great. I got into it because I used to swim, and then I don't know, I got a bit bored of swimming, so then I went over because my friend was a rower, and I used to trampoline with her. So then she just pulled me into it, and it was, I started rowing for 10 years, and it fucked my back up, and then I quit.
Sounds like a good career.
Yeah.
I've never tried it. I've never tried it like a proper rowing, but
It's addictive. Like I did a year in Canada as well, for varsity, and that was probably the highest I got. And I wanted to do more. Like I wanted to do like Scotland and GB, but I wasn't tall enough. I wasn't good enough. I wished I was good enough. Probably thought I was at one point, but I wasn't. But yeah, it's intense. But it's so fun, like when you're in the boat and when you're with your crew and you're out in like, I don't know, Sunday, Saturday morning, and it's really fresh and you're out there, and it's a really mentally good thing as well. But yeah.
I only ever used the Concept 2, and I have a love-hate relationship with the Concept 2. It's like the best conditioning tool. Like rower sprints are the best conditioning tool. Like even when boxing, I did a lot of sprints last year in the rower before Naga Europe, the jiu-jitsu competition, and it's brutal, like horrible. But this conditioning is amazing. It's so good. But I would have no interest in ever rowing. It's so stupid. I think it's so hard.
It's meant it's crazy because like I just did it, and I'd sit on a rowing machine for like an hour and a half and think that's fine. But now I sit on a rowing machine. I've not sat on one for ages, but if I did, I'd be like 5 minutes in, like, holy crap! Like this feels like that would feel like an hour to me now. I think so. It's like
awful.
It kind of made me think like, geez, that not only physically how trained I was, but mentally, like to endure stuff like that, I definitely was a lot tougher than I am now.
Get into that. Well, to be fair, it's like when people have asked me about like would I like ever box again or anything as an amateur, I was like, I'm 36 now, and I'm like, I don't have like when I started and I was younger, you would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't matter what the rain, what the weather was, you would go and do 6 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles, whatever you had to do to get weight down. Or like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just not. It's just not happening. So there'll be some young people who will do that, and like I'm not doing that. I'll have my slippers on, just singing on, having a cup of coffee. I'm not doing that shit anymore.
I used to, at one point, it was like 5:20 on the water, and that was ridiculous. This is when I lived in Canada, and so it was 5:20 on the water. So that obviously meant I was up like maybe. I used to cycle down. It took me like 10 minutes. So I would sometimes like put my clothes on, go into bed, and then literally wake up, fall out of bed, and grab like, I don't know, like a cereal bar, some bad nutrition, and then just like cycle down, jump into my boat, and it would literally be like, don't talk to her right now, just let her do her thing, because I was so grumpy.
Just sheer anger, setting world records just with pure anger in the mornings.
But I'm like, I learned so much from it. You know, like it even now as like an Snc coach, like because you obviously it's a conditioning based sport, so it taught me so much about the different energy systems without even me realizing like how we trained, what we were targeting, and how to do that. So I'm glad I did it. My back isn't as happy about that though.
How would you train like as a rower? Like what was involved in like weights or anything like that, or was it just purely all rowing?
So when I used to row Snc, this is when it was kind of becoming a little bit more popular. So I remember I started at uni, which quite a lot of people do actually, and my ex used to take me to the gym, but it wasn't like clever S&C.
Yeah,
I did okay stuff. Like, he made me squat, and he made me do, like, I remember being taught a stiff leg deadlift, and he was like, just remember this. It's so weird, the things you remember. But with this one lift, he was like, just do it light for today because your hamstrings will hurt. And I was like, whatever. And then added stuff on. And then died the next day with, like, the worst hamstring pain. But so I remember we used to do stuff, but it wasn't very good, and some of it was like machine based, which, you know, machine based stuff for some things is fine, but it wasn't like a structured S&C plan which you would get today. But we did go to the gym, but we did a lot of like circuit based stuff as well, which is kind of like old fashioned S&C basically. But most of the time, like, to be a good rower, you have to spend hours on the water, so it's like training every day, sometimes twice at the weekends, like 2 to 3 sessions sometimes. So it's just about the mileage, which that's what most of the injuries come from. It's like overuse injuries, which then hopefully the S&C will help to reduce. But yeah,
sounds like it sounds a little bit like cycling, where you just have to be on a bike constantly.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Your butthole kills you. It's not nice. That's
The way that sorry,
I was going to say, we talked to this not that long ago. Who was it with? I can't remember who it was. Maybe Matt Vincent, actually. And you know, when I did the Keltman 2 years ago, 2019, I forgot my padded shorts on my bike.
It was
I was like 100 miles in, and it was like, I can't sit on this anymore. I have to get off now, please. It wasn't pleasant. So yeah, I don't. Same kind of idea. You have to spend hours on a bike, and it's just not nice. It just was. There's a certain level of psycho to that kind of thing.
Rowing, you could get like bum blisters and stuff. Like that's like I used to get it. There's 2 places you could get it.
I think that's so funny.
Like, like the 2 main areas is like, you know, like your coccyx. So like from like swaying back and forth, like on the rowing seat, it's got like a little bit that sticks up at the back that basically fits your bum cheek. But going back and forth on that, you can get like a blister on your coccyx. That's where I used to get my blister. But some people used to get blisters on like their butt bones. So like if they had a little bit less cushioning, they'd get like butt bone blisters, which I think was worse. But yeah, that was some of the gross things. It's funny, like these things that you would never know as a non-rower.
It's like those. It's like the ones that row across the Atlantic, and they end up. Nearly everyone. I don't know if it's just a fetish thing or if they all insist it's proper bro science, but they always talk about like they end up rowing naked because they just get chafed to hell with their clothes. Honestly, anyone that ever talks about rowing the Atlantic,
so you have to say to your girlfriend or wife, "I'm going to go away for 3 months. I'm going to be with the guys in the Middle Atlantic naked."
Yeah. It's bro science. It's bro science. You don't get butt blisters if you row naked.
Yeah. I never rode naked, so I wasn't that dedicated, obviously.
Yeah, you haven't been in the Atlantic yet.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's loads of things like that. I used to get shin bites, slide bites as well, which is like down the side of your shin from like the metal railing that you slide your seat on and stuff. Yeah, that was all gross. But yeah.
There we go. Horrible blisters from rowing. That's something I didn't know. I told you this never ends up the way you think it would end up.
I know. By 20 past 11, we've covered dick stories and bars and blisters on your butt from rowing.
Fine. It's fine.
It's either that or it's songs of praise on BBC One. There's not much
choice. I want to watch a politics show. I've talked to Claire about bum blisters. So what who's are you working with a GB fencer, is that right?
So I've got a few people I'm working with right now, yeah. So down here with the university, I don't know if you've heard of TAS before. Probably haven't, because I hadn't when I was in Scotland. It's a talented athlete scholarship scheme. So it's basically a development program for athletes trying to make, or they might be GB, but they also might be on the cusp of it, or they might be aiming for it and be like a junior or something like that. So I've got an GB judo athlete that I'm working with there, which is really cool. She's involved with the GB setup, so I actually just kind of take her for her sessions, and she's got her own program, which is ace. She's amazing. She's like tiny and a little, a little terrier. She's like so strong.
We do know because we have done because me and Ali both do jiu-jitsu. There's some guys we both do jiu-jitsu for 3 or 4 years now, and there's some judo people come in to train sometimes, and it's like the grip strength is like weird. It's like they grab your collar and it's like, whoa, I don't know what they do. You can tell me what they do, but it's weird, super weird.
Her training partner is actually a jiu-jitsu girl, and they kind of told me a few of the differences. I'm not an expert in that yet because I've not been coaching her that long, but she's just, because obviously it's so much body weight stuff, she's just so strong. Like, she weighs about, I think she fights in the under 51. I think that's her category. So she's small, but she's squatting over 100. Like,
that's strong, yeah.
She's over double body weight that she squatted out for reps before Christmas. And like bench press, she's like repping out like 1.5 body weight easy, and she's ace. So for me, that's also like some really fun videos for Instagram.
as
posting the highlights.
Don't give away somebody's entire training plan, but how do you train like a judo fighter in terms of an Snc coach?
Yeah, it's not kind of giving away secrets, really. I think I've not written her program, but I'm about to start writing the program for her training partner. For me, like, it's for any athlete, I first want to make sure like they've got movement competency. So basic movement patterns like your squat, push, pull, hinge, like brace, rotate, like all those kind of things. I know already that she's a pretty good mover because she's been training in the gym on her own program at the same time. But now she just wants a little bit more specific. So my goal is to first get her as strong as I can. It's a bodyweight sport, so if she's not even like benching bodyweight, then that's, for me, that's pretty. She needs to do that. Like, if she's got someone on top of her or something, she needs to be able to push a bodyweight off. Especially if it's a bodyweight sport, because obviously it's gonna be her bodyweight on top of her. So even just something simple like that, like I need to get her strong enough to be able to do that. So it's basic strength, basic lifts like squats, bench, deadlift, but maybe add in some pin variations like floor press or like static strength lifts where you've got to initiate from a pause position, which is kind of like what they'll be doing. So it could be like pause squat or like a pin squat, or like I said with bench press, it might be a pause variation or like a floor press, kind of stuff like that. Pendlay rows, like really bent over in a position they can lift strong. But as well as like just that, like I'm going to be putting in, like Chloe doesn't have this. Chloe's lifts are mostly strength based, but that's maybe just the philosophy of her coach. I still will go kind of around the way of like I want to hit multiple. I can't think today. I think it's because it's a Sunday. My words are all jumbling.
It's a Sunday at 11:30, and of course normally you'd be in church, so you're thinking about the good Lord.
I could be. So yeah, I want to think about her being explosive as well. So I'm going to kind of put Olympic lifts in there as well.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go, because there's a lot of throws. It's a very throw-based sport, so there has to be something like that explosive. Because that's where it doesn't it's one of those things with judo. So jiu-jitsu takes some judo, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu comes from judo essentially. But the throwing element is one of those things where it like you get people who again, the bro science guys who think they'd never throw me, and then you get like a little girl like that who's 50 kilos would
She could throw, I think,
them,
anyone.
throw them, and
Yeah.
like I say, we've trained with our friend Jim who trains. Well, he was a judo black belt, and Jim is 65 kilos, and it doesn't make sense like how strong he is. He's a fireman as well, so he's obviously kind of get that brute strength about him. But it doesn't make sense. Like his ability to throw me is like, what the fuck just happened? And it doesn't. But people don't understand like that ability is staggering.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've always been interested in, like in terms of that
She
throwing
also
ability.
used to grow up on. She grew up on a farm.
Okay.
Which is something I
That makes
learned.
sense.
Yeah, it's something I learned like maybe in the past couple of weeks, and because we were just talking about how she's naturally strong. Like she obviously has worked up very hard for being how strong she is, but she's naturally one of those strong athletes as well. And but she's made the comment about like I think probably from a young age, like I was throwing hay bales and stuff, and it's like naturally from that young age, like things that she did, like working on a farm, if you're actually helping out, it's tough, like
Hard work. Yeah.
So she was brought up with that, like it's kind of like nature nurture kind of like thing. She's been in an environment that has kind of developed her really well.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. The way the way you grow up, if you're lifting heavy things and doing a lot of manual things as you're younger, you'll grow up to be strong. But yeah, so what about yourself, Claire? What do you have anything planned for yourself? Anything fun, exciting, endurance, or any more? Because you did some like bodybuilding. Oh, I don't know what I don't know. I don't understand bodybuilding, but you did like some. I would say bodybuilding, but it's like there's different
Is
classes.
bodybuilding as a whole, but I was in the figure category.
Okay.
I did that I was rowing, and then when I quit rowing basically when I was doing my masters, and I realized that I wasn't going to be the GB rower I thought I was, and that I had to focus on like my career, and the hours that I couldn't put into rowing because I was putting into like internships and like kind of get experience. I was like, what can I do? So that's what kind of brought me into doing like bodybuilding. The environment I was in at the gym I worked at was really easy for me to train. Like it would have been hard for me with my lifestyle to have done any other sport at that point because it was so irregular. Whereas doing something like that, I could fit it in whenever I needed to.
Yeah.
And it was probably mentally as hard and physically as hard as what rowing had been, which is what I liked. And I'd actually mentally say it was harder because it wasn't like with rowing you could switch off like when you weren't there. But with bodybuilding, it obviously like diet consumes you as well as the physical side, and then like mentally being able to keep pushing through and not eat a jar of peanut butter was like was harder. So I did that.
This is why I'm not a bodybuilder.
Why I'm not anymore. I'm glad I did it, and I learned a lot, and like I was addicted, which was my personality at the time. Like I was addicted to rowing, and then I got addicted to this, and it was good. And nutrition wise, I learned a lot, which was probably good for me. It's probably one of the biggest things I took out from it is how much it upped my nutrition game, and also relating to other females. I know it sounds weird, but like with rowing, because you do so much, like I was always used to kind of like eating what I wanted, and like I was generally the same physique for most of that time. Like I fluctuated a little bit because of the training that you go through like throughout the period, but I was never like had issues with my body. But then going into bodybuilding, it's the first time I probably properly dieted like ever, and like it also was just hard, like, and then you started to view your body differently, and then coming out of it, that was awful. Like that's probably why I wouldn't do it again, because coming out the other side when you've been like so lean and then you add on like a pound and you're like, I'm fat, like it mentally was so hard. But that was probably the first time I related to like people having issues with body weight. So it was also, that was really good for me to then understand like being scared of the scale or being scared of like different foods, or so obviously it's not a very nice thing to go through, but it was very good for me to have been through it. Like it's all fine, like there's nothing there, but yeah, I think that was a good experience for that. But I wouldn't do it again.
It's one of those sports where I have never understood. I guess like people would say the same thing about boxing. Like, why would you get punched in the fucking mouth? Why would you do that? I've just never understood bodybuilding. I just went,
I didn't see an appeal to it before. I just wanted to do something, and
yeah.
I'm glad that I am glad, and it was fun while I was doing it. Like the journey to stage was actually really fun, and it gave you something to focus on.
Yeah.
But that's not me anymore, and I don't know what I've trained like a weightlifter, I've trained like a powerlifter, but I've never competed in any of them. So that would potentially be something I'd maybe want
It'd be
to
cool
do.
fun.
Yeah.
It's also good as well when, you know, if that's your career, like to do these things, to understand like all the little intricate details that you may overlook if you hadn't competed.
Yeah.
It's probably worthwhile something, you know, and it's fun just to do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like,
I like using myself as a test subject. So it is like, so I have followed specific like weightlifting programs like clean, jerk, snatch kind of based stuff, and I have been coached by a powerlifter, been coached by a bodybuilder, being coached by Snc, and I think I've learned a lot from all of these things. I kind of wanted to go back to like netball or karate. I wanted something away from the gym, but then COVID came, so I've not been able to do that.
You should do some judo or jiu-jitsu with your clients, students. What would you call them? What's the word I'm looking for? Why am I so stupid? Yeah, you should do one of those sports. They're really good fun. Like so much fun. Jiu-jitsu in particular, like you're saying with rowing, gets so addictive. So addictive. It's the most fun. And you get to wear really bright, silly lycra, which you would like.
I did go to jiu-jitsu when I was in Canada for a few sessions, but I'd just come back from a shoulder injury, and the guy was like, "It's probably not the best time."
It's not. It's not. But
Yeah.
It's so much fun. It's like it's the only sport, I believe, maybe like professional wrestling, but it's probably the only sport where you could be a middle-aged man and wear like really Ali has like unicorn rash guards and matching spats and all sorts of stupid shit.
I have two sets of unicorn rash guards and spats. I have one in fruit salad colours of pink, yellows and oranges, and one in more of a kind of blue, yellow and green pattern. So
I thought you were geese.
Well, there's gi and no gi jiu-jitsu.
I genuinely thought you said, I thought you were gay, and I was like that doesn't make it sound not gay.
Don't tell Sandra.
I know.
Yeah, no. So you get gi and no gi jiu-jitsu.
After you've just been talking about your wife and kids.
Yeah, and then talking about wearing unicorns, and you're like, but I thought you were gay. I was like, what? Wearing unicorns doesn't make you gay? Like, that's a weird correlation to make.
How do you think he knows about the roars in the Atlantic?
Yeah. I've got an extensive DVD collection. Naked Roan in the Atlantic 27. In answer to your question, there's both the gi and the no gi side of it. So the rash guards are for the no gi, and then obviously the gi's for the gi.
And
So
the
there's two different.
gi, yeah, I made a tie-dye rash guard. So I've got a tie-dye gi. So I've got a tie-dye gi for jiu-jitsu.
I suggested that to my fencer, and she was like, "I don't want to ruin like £1,000 cost. Like her things cost a lot."
Ruin it?
I
It's amazing. It's amazing. Maybe it's not for 1,000, but like I bought a really cheap gi. I think it was like £60, and just bought something like. You know, people are like, why do you have a child's tie-dye set? Because I'm tie-dyeing a gi. And they just look at you, you're 34. Yeah, I know. But yeah, so yeah, you get gi and no gi jiu-jitsu. So this is where it's quite interesting because like gi jiu-jitsu is more like judo, judo base, and then no gi jiu-jitsu is kind of more like wrestling. So you kind of go down that route, so it's super interesting. But no gi jiu-jitsu is so much fun, so much fun. So I would highly recommend some of that.
Yeah, see, I like kicking heads, so like that's why I liked karate, and like I did a bit of Muay Thai for a while. And taekwondo, and so that's why I kind of like want to go back to maybe one of them, because I really like kicking.
Wait, I'll write this down here.
I know. I was going to say you can take the girl out of Scotland.
Claire just used to wander the streets on a Saturday night, just kicking people in the head.
People in the head bush.
But because she's nice, she used to apologise and phone them an ambulance afterwards.
Yeah, put them in the recovery position.
left a card for the self-defense courses. But yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I think a Muay Thai would be cool. I've never tried any, but it seemed like it'd be cool to kick things really hard.
I did karate for years. I did a little bit of taekwondo when I first started. But I switched to karate because when I went to uni, the taekwondo club, they were just a bit, they were knobs. So I didn't stay. And I went to the karate club and they were ace. And then like I'm still friends with some of them. Like they're really lovely people. And then I did a little bit of Muay Thai just out of interest. And obviously they've got different styles. And that's like in karate. Like when I started the Muay Thai, he was like, stop kicking, like stop flicking. It's like in karate, it's like you've got to show the pullback when you contact to get the points. So it's more of like a target, almost like a sport, like boom and you're done. Right? Whereas like Muay Thai, he was like, just kick through me. I was like, okay. So then it's about driving everything through. Yeah. And I just like, it was really, I don't know, I loved it because like karate was cool because you're like getting targets and getting points, and it was like, it was almost pretty, whereas Muay Thai, when you went to that, it was really like, I remember my friend, I was kicking her with a pad, and the next day she's like, Claire, I'm bruised. I was like, sorry.
Yeah.
It's just so different. And
like karate is like a point-based system, where Muay Thai, you're trying to knock a bitch out.
Yeah. I mean, not saying like karate, if you're really powerful, you definitely could probably do that. But Muay Thai, it was like obviously in the fights, it's different. It's like
the objective is to hurt people.
Yeah. So I never competed in that because I didn't want to ruin my face.
Like what sucks? I wasn't worried about that when I boxed. It was already ruined. What sucks in those sports is it's like really fun to hit things really hard, but then you remember that people can also hit you really hard. That's when it becomes not so much fun. But yeah, you should definitely try. Like martial arts is so good for everybody. It's so good for people's confidence and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Everyone that does it always says, I wish I'd started 10 years earlier.
Yeah, definitely when your body's not all broken when it's like 18 and you're made of magic.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at like Aaron, because Aaron started at 14, 15 and he's still like bendy as anything.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for starting young, but like we're old and broken and wake up in the morning, and if something doesn't hurt, I'm like, what the fuck's wrong? Maybe I'm dying.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so like I think we've like an hour. I think we've done it. Have we done an hour? Yeah.
5 minutes we're on. I heading on towards hour.
I'm running out of intelligent things to say, like I usually do. It's always me that runs out of intelligent things to say.
That's
but,
all right. The only thing
yeah.
I wanted to double into, Claire, just very briefly on the sports science side of things, because I did my sports sciences obviously a good while before you did yours. But you did your masters in strength and conditioning in Edinburgh, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of led you down the path of going fully into the strength and conditioning masters? Was it just so you could specialise in that field versus nutritional biomechanics, or what kind of led you down there?
Yeah, I think like obviously I went in after that course thinking, okay, I want to do Snc, and then I did as much experience on the side as I could, working with different teams, and then this is when masters started to become basically the new undergrad. Like everyone had them, and now everybody basically does, and now a PhD is becoming that. And so I think for me, a master's was like the next obvious step. But specifically in S&C, I think it was just like I knew I wanted to be an S&C coach by this point. And there weren't many S&C masters. I think there was maybe 2, 3 down in England, and Edinburgh was the only one. So I'd applied for Loughborough and Edinburgh, and I got into both. But okay. I also got a internship with Glasgow Warriors. So for me, I was like, well, I'm going to stay in Edinburgh because like obviously that's a great opportunity. And if I'd gone to Loughborough, I'm sure something would have come up, but I didn't know if it would. So yeah, that's basically why I went to Edinburgh. And like I feel like my whole journey I've been very lucky, and I think I entered the field at a very good time because it wasn't as big, so there was less people. Like now there's so many S&C courses, there's so many undergrads and masters. It's very diluted. It's harder for people to get noticed. And I actually feel like there might be people that are coming through that are better quality because of the access that you get to information now and stuff. You know, like some of the students that I work with, I'm like, they're so good. Like their drive and stuff, like it's really good to see, but it's just harder for them. So I think, like I did that, and that's when I then went to do my institute internship, and then I got a job from it, and I met Gil during my master's as well, and that he then like kind of mentored me through my accreditation, and that was like the start of everything, and it all just fell into place. I got my first Snc job with the Scottish Institute, which was huge. I'd done Snc with other smaller teams and stuff, so it wasn't my first thing. That would have been silly. But I'd coached a lot before that, but that was my first like proper role, which I felt like was a big hurdle. And then it just all kind of spiraled from there, which is really
does it like it seems now, just because you kind of touched on it briefly, but it seems now like I see things on Facebook now, it's like everybody's like, I hate the term PT now. Like I hate that term PT because it feels like everybody's a PT because they did like a 12-week course, and it feels like people lose sight of that, like to what you're doing. Like it feels like people don't understand the difference between like this really easy PT course and like 15 years of studying to do, you know, proper strength and conditioning.
Yeah, that's an area that is trying to be addressed by the UKCA, because it is like a sore point for a lot of coaches when, you know, we have done undergrads, masters, internships, like accreditations, and not, you know, I am what am I trying to say? I think people have their own journey, and I don't think everybody needs to go to university to be who they are and to be successful. Like I feel like everybody's different, but I think with S&C, I think they're trying to go down the route of it becoming like a protected title. So
okay.
like, you know, like how
Like nutritionist and dietitian.
yeah, like how I couldn't just call myself a doctor. Like that would be silly.
I do.
Why is but why is it okay for someone to call themselves like an S&C coach? Well, it's not been really protected yet, and it is an issue in the whole field with like physio, sports therapy, S&C, PT, nutrition, diet. They're all so linked that things cross over, and I just don't think there's clear guidelines of where you should stop.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I see so many people. Sorry, I see so many like people who are doing, you know, like, and it's not to hate on anybody for what they're doing. Like everybody's doing their own thing, but like you know, I know, and it's usually girls who get conned into these things, and it's like they're working with a PT, and it's like they've got them on like 1,000 calories a day, and it's like,
oh yeah,
they're working me so hard, and you go, this is really stupid and dangerous. Like this is a terrible road to go down. So it's kind of like a dangerous thing.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it is, isn't it? Do you know, people are just trying to make money, like by making courses that, you know, take 6 weeks, and they get £1,000 from one person who's paying that, and then they're qualified to do whatever they want. But I don't know, it is frustrating.
I think if they get protected term, well, sorry, Claire, it will make a massive difference if they get protected terms. Because my friend that went to uni the same time as me, she ended up doing dietetics, so ended up as like a qualified dietitian. And she was having the same problem back then, that people were doing like 6-week online sports nutrition courses. Yeah. And the way she described it is her dietitian degree, and she went on and did a master's. She said, if you compare it, like you were saying, to sort of claiming yourself as a doctor, if she's saying dietitian is like dentist, as that 6-week sports nutrition course is to a toothologist. Like you can't call yourself, I'm going to call myself a toothologist because I can't claim I'm a dentist. But people don't make that distinction between, as you're saying, nutritionists, sports therapists, massage therapists, physiotherapists. You know, a proper, decent strength and conditioning coach. It all just gets folded into one.
Yeah. It's like one of my students actually asked me, he was like, can I call myself an S&C coach now? Because he's on our undergrad course. And I was like actually, like, I was like, yeah? Like, I was like, technically anyone can call themselves an S&C coach. But he was like, can I advertise myself as one, or do I have to wait until I'm like graduated and certified? And do you know, I'd want to say, yeah, you have to wait until you're graduated and certified, but actually, like, you can call yourself that, which is very frustrating. I mean, I know he's good and he's on the route to be a good coach, but there's people that have called themselves that they don't even know what S&C is compared to like, I think there's that confusion of what S&C is, and a lot in the fitness industry, I feel like people think S&C is strength training, and that's it. And it is, because the first word is strength, like, but they don't understand the conditioning. And the conditioning, you know, like, as an S&C coach, like, it's not only strength training, like, you know, you're in the gym, you're doing strength, you're doing mobility, flexibility, but you're also doing speed, agility, like anaerobic, aerobic. Like, I've got, like, so, like, working with Bristol City right now, the football team, I'm doing pitch-based stuff with their warm-ups. I'm looking at plyometric, speed, agility, like top speed, high speeds, like all of these, like GPS, like all of these things come into that S&C kind of role, when I think that's
it's super, like, it feels like it's super disrespectful to somebody to think that they're doing the same thing as you when you're doing all these things, and there's so many moving parts, and it becomes so complicated that to understand that you have to have done like what you've done, for somebody just to go, yeah, I'm a strength and conditioning coach because I can teach you how to deadlift. So
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like,
it's
there's
super,
a reason there's a degree for it, because it takes that many years to go through all of the information, and it's not even, it's the layers of information as well. So it's like the first years you're giving them the knowledge of the different areas. The second years you're like giving them the ability to maybe assess certain things in these areas and coach certain things. And then it's on top of that, it's being able to like troubleshoot things as well. So it's like, there's so much, and there's a reason it takes that. That's just the start of it as well. And then you've got the accreditation with all of those things you've got to do for that. And even then, like, you're still not, you don't know everything. Like, this is frustrating.
Yeah, super frustrating. But then, you know, on the side of giving yourself like titles, I when
What are you about to say?
Well, I'm just laughing because it's funny. It's in my head. It's so funny, but it's probably not even funny. But when when you sign up for accounts for different whatever it is for like it's like Screwfix Direct or whatever. Like you can give yourself titles, and I always give myself like I'm like Professor. I've got one that's Captain. I've got one that's Reverend. So every time I go on something, I always say, "Oh, yeah, Professor Chris," and I'm like,
"What the hell's Screwfix?"
It's like it's a hardware store. It's just a hardware store.
Did you just say it sounds like a weird dating site?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not that at all. No, it's just hardware. I promise, it's just hardware. But yeah, I give myself these titles all the time because I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm a reverend in some of them, and I'm a captain and a professor. And
But it's true. Like, part of the appeal, like I want to do a PhD, and part of the appeal to that is like the fact you can be a doctor. Obviously, I would not spend 6 years or whatever doing something just for that. But it is an appeal to be like.
I think you would. I think you would. I think you would. And then you would just go about with your white coat on all the time. with your mug, with your Disney mug.
Like Ross from Friends. I'm a doctor.
Doctor.
And then you could use the line, "I didn't spend 6 years studying to be called Mrs. or Miss. Thank you very much."
Doctor. Just walking up behind people in the supermarket and whispering in their ears that you're a doctor. I'm a doctor. Oh dear. Right. Actually, I don't have anything. I don't have anything intelligent to say anymore. I've run out of things to say, intelligent things to say. But yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. Thank you very much for doing it, and hopefully we don't suck too badly. But yeah, it was good fun.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Just before we wind it fully down, Claire, Chris has mentioned already that you have the best Instagram stories on the whole Instagram platform. So we can send people your way. What's your Instagram or any other social media you want to shout out, and we'll add this in our notes and we'll tag it in the video as well for you.
My Instagram, I actually changed it. I don't know if I like it. I changed it a while ago. It's just Claire_Tracey_coach. And my Facebook is Claire Tracey Fitness is my fitness page. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it as much. But if they're active on Twitter, it's CI Tracey 86. But I usually just share stuff on there. I'm not very good at it.
That makes me feel better because one of the random Skype accounts I messaged was CI Tracey 86, so that was one of your old Skype accounts that I messaged. Yeah. So that's fine. That's one of them I don't have to worry about getting random messages through.
Yeah.
But
best on Instagram if people want information and stuff.
It's the funniest when you have with all your friends and you've got your own little girl gang thing going on and you're all silly. It's funny.
Super. Me?
Yeah. All your different friends. It's so like I'm very childish and I giggle. Maybe nobody else will laugh, but I giggle. So thank you.
I tried to keep it lighthearted. Like I don't know. I feel like sometimes I think maybe I should be really serious on these pages because of who might follow me, like potential bosses or something like that. But I also am like, but I'm still a person. I'd rather people followed like a person than like information. Yeah. So yeah.
No, but you know what? Like, one of the things is when you're doing something for like a long period of time, so obviously you're going to have your Instagram for a very long time, right? So it's like doing this podcast. You can't like put an act on for a long period of time. You just have to be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you could try and have your Instagram and try and be all serious and stuff, but if that's not who you are, you can't do that
Yeah.
constantly. You know, you can't speak to somebody for an hour and be anything other than yourself because it's just exhausting. So
Yeah.
you just have to be who you are, and hopefully people like that. And if they don't, then you fucking kick them in the head.
Yeah. Exactly. I will.
But yeah, that was it was good fun. So thank you very much for your time, and
Well,
you have a lovely Sunday.
you too.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Episode 58 of the Silly Goose Gang with Claire Tracey. Let's call it done and dusted.
The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.